for jocks, but never ask my brother to come. Cause God forbid anybody sees a black man run. I'm getting tired of pleading the case of men who can't speak out with a gun in their face, or of boys who shop at convenience stores whose only crime was having skin that was different than yours. What will it take to make you see the only difference between you and me is people listen when you speak, so listen carefully. I can't breathe, we can't breathe. I can't breathe, we can't breathe. It's hard living in a world where it's fine to call the cops on him for no reason or rhyme, or because he didn't have a permit to sell his water. All our sons and daughters are dying before they get the chance to reach for their dreams. But when we reach for Skittles or our wallets, somebody screams. And when we try to explain what we're doing, people start shooting. What will it take for you to realize we know not all cops are bad guys, but to the ones who look us in the eyes and keep holding on while we cry. I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Muliani, I can't breathe. Unhand me, I can't breathe. Please stop killing me.
Wow. That is a powerful song. Let's take a breath together. Hello, I'm Alyssa, and I want to welcome you to our virtual worship service of Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church, or as we fondly abbreviate it, BBUUC. We are living through some scary times right now, and during these times, it is especially important to be in community with one another. Unitarian Universalism is a faith denomination that is guided by 7 principles, and Minister Viola Abbott reminds us that these principles do not tell us what we should believe. They tell us how we should be. They tell us how we should act in the larger world and with each other. A great reminder in these trying times. To find out more about Unitarian Universalism or our church, please visit our website, bbuuc.org, or you can check out the UUA website at uua.org. I'm grateful that you have chosen to connect with us today. We are posting from our YouTube channel, one of the many ways we are staying connected during this time of confusion and social distancing. We will continue to offer virtual worship programming until we can resume services in our church sanctuary. In addition to worship, we are continuing other opportunities to connect through our Zoom platform, including classes, small group ministries, children's chapel, parent groups, and coffee conversations. Keep an eye on the church website, calendar, Facebook page, and your email for more information on the various ways we can be connected with one another. Now, let us open our minds and our hearts as we worship together.
Good morning. My name is Claudia Marshall, and I am a member of BBUUC as of March. Like many of you, I found that I have been UU all my life. We are a happy coincidence. These events that are swirling around us at this time will connect us, challenge us, and help us to live our beliefs out loud. Our chalice reading this morning is from Rebecca Savage. We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people, united in love and thirsting for restorative justice. May it melt away the tethers that uphold whiteness in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite in us radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. This is an audacious hope. This chalice shines a light on our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideas.
Good morning. It's good to be with you here today. There's a lot of things going on in the world that can be both inspiring and a little scary. And I want to share with you a story based on a book by Sarah Rule called The Breaking News. I remember when we heard the bad news. My mom, my dad, my little brother, and I were sitting around the dining room table, repotting flowers, having a great time, joking and smiling and working together. Then on the TV, there was a breaking news story. And all of a sudden, my parents looked worried. My mom became glued to the television set, and my dad couldn't stop checking his phone. And they whispered to each other a lot, and I just pretended I didn't hear. When my brother and I got on the bus the next day to go to school, it seemed like everybody else felt it too. My friends were quiet, and we all just kind of looked at each other. At school, my teacher told us to look for the helpers, that even when the news is bad, you can always find good people trying to make things better in big and small ways. I decided I want to help in a big way. I decided to put on the funniest show ever to make everyone laugh again. But the grown-ups didn't feel like laughing. I tell them about a force field I'm going to invent that will keep us all safe. But their smiles are tiny and sad. I try to be on my very best behavior. So good. But they hardly even notice. And I think maybe there's nothing I can do to help in a big way. And I feel small. Maybe, though, I think I can try to do just one small thing, and maybe another and another, and maybe one more, like doing the dishes and playing with my little brother, smiling at people, being kind and offering compassion. I asked my parents what small thing we could do as a family, and they got the potting stuff out again. And we made flower pots for all of our neighbors, and it made them smile. Small things don't solve everything. The bad news is still there. After all, it doesn't go away. But then again, we don't either. We are still here. And as a family, we figured out that sometimes we can't do that one big thing, but we can do all the small things that can become something bigger. As Unitarian Universalists, our second principle calls us to offer justice, equity, and compassion in human relationships. And I wonder, what small thing can you do right now to be a helper? And with this, my story is told. Until next time.
This is the time in our service when we pause to create sacred space in our hearts. We pause to reflect on recent days with joys, sorrows, fears, gratitude, and love. We recall the milestones, the changes in our lives, and those who need our healing thoughts. Our community is deepened by sharing. We light a candle of concern for Ted and Dixie C., who continue to have challenges. Ted was back in the hospital with serious kidney problems, but is handling things well. Extra support, cards, and phone calls are most appreciated. A candle of concern for Terry K., who is having health issues and would appreciate prayers. We light a candle for Mary M.'s son and his family who are recovering from COVID. She sends a thank you to all who have provided support to the family. A candle of concern from Cindy J. for the divisions and hurt the crisis in the U.S. is causing between family members and between friends. A candle of joy from Chris J. for the overwhelming kindness and generosity of our congregation during Morgan's first round of chemo. A candle of joy for Elizabeth D., whose sermon, Seeing Animals, given at BBUUC in November, has been judged the winning entry in the Albert Schweitzer Sermon Contest, sponsored by the Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministry. Elizabeth is grateful to BBUUC and the Worship Committee for the opportunity to present this sermon. BBUUC is grateful for Elizabeth, her moving message, and the many gifts she brings to our community. We are also going to light another candle for Elizabeth in celebration of her birthday today. A happy birthday is also celebrated with a candle lit for Kirsten W., whose special day is on June 8th. Jennifer B.'s candle is next, who will be celebrating a birthday on the 11th of June. And last but certainly not least, another flame to celebrate Ken C.'s birth on June 13th. A candle of joy for another award, this one to David D., who has not only been nominated for an Emmy Award, but recently received a Telly Award for editing Season 2 of Samantha Brown's Places to Love. We light a candle for Hillary F., who is happy to report that she has not gained any weight during the COVID isolation. A candle for our nation and its people, for strength, justice, and peace, for hope, for change, for more love. And a final candle we light for all of the joys and concerns that remain in our heart, but not yet spoken. During these difficult times that we are experiencing, we realize just how important it is to journey through this together as a faith community. Let us hold one another in our hearts. Let us be filled with kindness and grace. Let us lift our hopes and our prayers for one another. Know too that your pastoral care team and your congregation is here for you should you find yourself in need of comfort, help, or a listening, non-judgmental ear.
Hello, Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Reverend Christine Dance. I am proud to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. You may know our past called minister, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, who is the president of our denomination. We are very proud of her. We're going to do a ritual of lamentation to start out this morning. While I give you a little bit of words, I invite you to get up and get a bowl or a cup of water and some salt. It's okay, go ahead and get up and go get that while I tell you a little bit about the ritual. It's a concept by Reverend Carol Sissel, and it was adapted by Reverend Erica Hewitt. I invite you to have those near you as we go through this ritual. It has been a few weeks of outrage and lamentation. The deep generational trauma of white supremacy in this country made itself known yet again when George Floyd died under a Minneapolis police officer's knee. This was a 21st century lynching. It was not an isolated event of white violence. It's been what's happening to Black and brown people, and especially Black men, for centuries, for millennia. You take a breath with me. And would you please join me in saying aloud the names of the many Black people who have been killed through white violence. If you identify as white, our grief must also be a reckoning, because this violence is at the heart of our country's origin story. Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz points out the founding of a state based on the ideology of white supremacy, the widespread practice of African slavery, and a policy of genocide and land theft. We will not ignore George Floyd's death or its terrible context. We have a metastatic racism, says Ibram X. Kendi, and it is literally killing America. And so, with your bowl and your salt, I invite you to use your hand to stir some salt into the water and to submerge your fingers in it. As we have promised to put ourselves into the holy work of anti-racism, I even invite you to taste the salty water as a reminder of the grief and trauma inflicted on Black and brown bodies in this country, and the legacy of pain that is ours to help both dismantle and heal. As I say the names, I invite you to dip your fingers in for each one and join me in saying them out loud with me, repeating them after me, or adding your own names. Ahmaud Arbery, Tatiana Jefferson, Stephon Clark, Alton Sterling, Mike Brown, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Sean Bell, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Dion Johnson. Say those names with grief, and if you are white, with responsibility. Say those names on your heart or write them down. Our tears are not enough. Our anger isn't even enough. But our lamentation and rage can drive us to act, to hold vigil, to make phone calls, to offer financial support, to interrupt harmful conversations, and to initiate uncomfortable conversations with those who would rather look away. All these names. May the tears be a beginning. May we keep going.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for its soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for its soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned. Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for its soul. For the children of our children. Keep the circle whole.
Our UUA president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray and Lena Gardner said, "Every day in our world, people are feeling vulnerable, frightened, and heartbroken. For those who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, the effects of racism and oppression are an everyday lived reality, and these feelings are not new. For others, this can be a time of hard awakening to the realities that have existed for a long time, and to new and heightened racial violence and policies targeting the most vulnerable. For all of us, the call of this moment is real, and as Unitarian Universalists, we are invited and challenged every day to live more deeply into our faith. And every day, our people, our congregations, you, are responding to that invitation. We are learning to live with a vision of the beloved community in the face of white supremacy and fear. We are learning to confront these things in our own hearts, lives, and congregations. If we as UUs are going to be ready to meet the challenge and accept our invitation to build a new way, we must do it together. We know that, as June Jordan said, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism is one of the ways our faith is answering this call. As a national ministry for and by Black identified Unitarian Universalists, Blue embodies a liberating community of all ages, a community that lifts up the lives and stories and the leadership of those who have been marginalized and silenced. A community that brings hope when hope is hard to find. And a community that calls us to wrestle with the gap between our theology and our practice in the world. Today, we are asking you to join us in fulfilling this promise. We need your help. While we are unable to pass the plate in person, we will gratefully accept your virtual offering. During the month of June, our weekly offerings will be contributed to Blue, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. If you believe that our faith must become radically inclusive, justice-centered, multiracial, and multi-generational, then there is no better way to advance that vision than through your support for Blue. The power and promise of Unitarian Universalism is waking up to meet fear and hate with radical imagination, transformative partnership, resilience, and joy. We make it possible through our commitment and our generosity. To make an offering, simply go to the link to our PayPal giving fund on our YouTube channel and give any amount, whatever you are able to share. Your contributions are most appreciated. I'm delighted to introduce to you today Reverend Christine Dance, the minister of the UU Congregation of Phoenix, Arizona. Christine has her Master of Divinity degree from Iliff School of Theology. Before Phoenix, she spent 20 years in Orlando, Florida, and was proud to serve as a lay leader in a little bit of everything. Thank you, Reverend Christine.
Oh, what a few weeks it's been, right? I mean, really, it's been a few months. But here's the thing. The coronavirus is new. Killing Black people is not new. We can be angry, but we should not be surprised. I want to talk a little bit what happened on Memorial Day, because I see it as a through-line story. In Central Park in New York City, a Black man asked a white woman to follow the park rules. The white woman became irate and threatened to call the police, and then did call the police, saying vehemently and intentionally that an African American man was threatening her. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew that by identifying him as an African American man, she would be more protected and he would be more penalized. By calling the police, she was setting him up for a possible incident, an incident that could leave him dead. She was potentially causing manslaughter by calling the police on him just for asking her to put a leash on her dog. Later that day, George Floyd, a Black man, is detained by police for a minor incident. He was totally subdued once he was in handcuffs, and yet an officer kneeled on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. He said, "I can't breathe." He called out for his mama. Eventually, he became unresponsive, and still the officer's knee was on his neck for another 2 minutes and 53 seconds. We can be horrified by this, but we cannot be surprised. It is not that different than what happened to Eric Garner, who also died from a chokehold in New York City. Mike Brown, who was shot in his back while he was killed by police in St. Louis. Sandra Bland, who died after a traffic stop. Philando Castile, who was killed in a traffic stop with his 4-year-old in the back seat. And oh, so many more. The incidents aren't rare, but only because they were caught on tape are we outraged. Without that, there are too many explanations. Well, they resisted arrest. They committed a crime, their background, the officer feared for his life. Heck, even with the videos, those things are said. But for those of us who see the humanity of George Floyd, we cannot look away while he was murdered, like so many of them. We know that Black men are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by the police than white men, and getting shot by police is the leading cause of death for Black men in the United States. So here's the thing. I don't have time or energy to talk about whether white supremacy is still an issue or whether we should call it white supremacy. We are beyond that. We are way beyond that. And I really don't want to hear people complain about how Black people are protesting. There have been a million nonviolent protests and a million opportunities for things to change. What form of protest is supposed to work exactly? Taking a knee? Marching peacefully? Working to reform the police through the existing infrastructure? Celebrities talking out? None of those seem to be acceptable, and they did not work. And I'm really fed up with people being more upset about the destruction of property than they are than the destruction of human lives. This goes for Corona too, where we are more worried about the capitalistic economy than we are about losing 100,000 human lives. If the fires of our stores is more disturbing to you than watching George Floyd's last breaths on the ground, then we need to have a conversation about our UU principles and values. We are angry, and we should be. I want to take a moment to address the white folks here in your Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist congregation. First of all, please remember it is not about us. We are angry, we are distressed, but when the anger dissipates, we can put it down until it happens again. It is our Black siblings who are affected here. Let's never forget that. As soon as we make it about ourselves, we turn the lens away from where it should be pointed. As soon as we take the microphone, we turn it from where it should be pointed. And yes, we are used to being able to do something. We're not used to being so powerless. We must all live in this discomfort. We need to disrupt white supremacy actions and talk immediately when we see it, in our families and in our friends. We need to be willing to step up with our own camera when we see something and hold officials accountable. We need to empower with our money, our time, and our infrastructure Black-led organizations who are working towards their own liberation. Please send some love to your Black friends. They're probably not okay, but do not put them in the position where they need to comfort you, and do not ask them to teach you how you can do better. Do your work. Read all you can. Find spaces to responsibly learn. My Black siblings, I see you and I love you. How could you be okay? You've seen this over and over, and every time you know it could be you or a family member. You live with the knowledge that any activity you undertake is inherently more dangerous just because of the color of your skin. We collectively lament for you. So I know that many of you were kind of like, so what do I do? Well, how do we address this? I want to go march. But we're also in a pandemic. We already know, too, that this pandemic is affecting significantly the Black and brown communities, more significantly. You need to decide what the risk is right for you. Deciding to stay home does not make you any less of an ally. It could make you more of one by deciding not to spread this more. I also want to be clear that what I'm going to be doing is following Black organizers and Black-led organizations in my town. I encourage you to look for who they are in your town, in Jacksonville and in all of Florida. And I want to give you permission to hold your hearts very carefully. Turn off the TV. Try not to scroll through Facebook every hour. Step away and take care of yourself, because this is a long game work. We need to guard our hearts to do that. But let's be clear. As a country, we must change. We must acknowledge the machines and systems of racism and work to dismantle them. The country is built on the labor and death and the oppression of Black bodies. We are giving notice to this system. Its time is up. We need to dismantle this machine. We are in the midst of the fire of racism. We collectively feel like we can't breathe. George Floyd couldn't breathe. We see and feel the rage. We feel the pent-up frustration, the fighting for decades without change. We yearn for justice and for our collective liberation. What unites us is love. We love our families. We love our mamas, and we call out for them at the moment of our deaths. We are willing to fight for freedom. Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Congregation, I am holding all of you in my hearts. I am holding Jacksonville in my heart. I'm holding the protesters in my heart. I'm holding those who stay at home in my heart. I am holding our country in my heart. We are united in our humanity. May that humanity guide us in the struggle and dark days ahead.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
We are going to extinguish our chalice today with these closing words, which come from Reverend Kimberly Wynne Johnson, inspired by the words of June Jordan from her poem for South African women. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May it be so. Go in peace. Thank you for being with us today.